This is a guide on the Power Axe. The Power Axe was released as the first new melee weapon in patch 10.0. At release, it had many fundamental issues, but I can now safely say it is possibly one of the best and also the most fun melee weapons. Let's start with some of the basic stats of the weapon. The Power Axe has a default damage of 11. This places its damage slightly higher than the Power Sword's 10.0, but lower than the Power Fist's 12. There are 4 distinct attacks to the light chain, as shown here. The first light attack deals 100% base damage and has a cleave value of 4. Light 2 also deals 100% base damage, but the cleave is increased to 6. Light 3 deals 150% base damage, but only with a cleave of 4. Light 4 deals 100% base damage for both strikes, resulting in 200% total damage. It also has a cleave value of 8 for each slash, though this will matter little with how the cuts are made. The light attacks are nothing fancy on their own by damage or cleave values. Overhead Strike is the sprint attack of the Power Axe. It uniquely deals 100% of the base damage, on top of having the benefits of heavy stagger like all melee weapons. This attack can be accessed outside of sprinting and dodging, and has several very cool interactions when combined with certain weapon and class perks. The heavy attacks are called World Slashes, and there are 2 distinct versions that differ largely from an aesthetic standpoint. By default, you can always follow one heavy attack with another. Each of the individual slashes of all the heavy deals 75% base damage, totaling to 150% base damage per heavy attack. Because of the staggered nature of these attacks, some may find the damage wanting, as oftentimes the attacks will be interrupted by the enemy's attacks, thus halving the damage dealt. Thankfully against Minor's enemies, the Power Axe heavy attacks are more than capable of staving them off, as these attacks cover almost 360 degrees around the user, and also cause heavy stagger. You can use the heavy attacks during any given moment, either from neutral or from a heavy or light attack. This will result in some useful combos with very different usage. The Power Axe combos revolve around cycling between the proper heavy and light attacks. A heavy 1 will always be followed with a light 4. This is a slow combo that guarantees the most damage to a single enemy, but may not always be the best option because it will not always true combo. For horde staggering, you would cycle between heavy 2 and light 2. This can be done with light, light, heavy, light, repeat, or heavy, heavy, light, heavy, repeat. As long as you know which heavy attack you're on, you can get either light 4 to maximize damage, or light 2 for more horizontal coverage. Now aside from these combos, you might find that for dueling larger units, using the light attacks might actually be more beneficial for maximizing your damage during moments-to-moments engagements, and that heavy attacks are better for handling a horde of Minor's enemies. This alone makes the Power Axe unique among the melee weapons, as most launch weapons pretty much follow the pattern that heavy attacks are just the strictly superior option for pretty much any situations. It will take some getting used to, but this is the type of variety that should be encouraged. Personally, however, I think the light attacks should have a higher motion value, like 50% more across the board, to emphasize them as the primary damage dealer for single combat. The unique mechanic of the Power Axe is none other than Power Stance. Power Stance is triggered after a successful parry or block. This puts the character into a stance with the axe raised, instead of the usual parry animation. From there, you will be able to perform all actions that you could after a normal parry, but also the Power Axe's unique attack, Power Backstab. Power Backstab, as the name implies, allows the player character to leap backward as he swings the axe. This attack deals 250% base damage and has built-in hyper armor during the stance and the attack. This move puts significant distance between the player and the target. Most importantly, Power Backstab has a powerful and perhaps game-changing feature. It forces a heavy stagger, similar to explosives and empowered block weapons. This property allows the Power Axe to have a guaranteed way to interrupt any enemies that can be staggered, including enraged and certain terminus enemies. While it can be argued that a parry performs similar deeds, parry inherently has no damage whereas Power Wave does, and it is a reactive rather than proactive action. Having access to such a handy tool might be a sign that Saber finally realizes that in games with melee combat, you need to have a way to generate priority over an enemy at all time. We got something similar with the block weapons rework, but clearly this is a sign of that realization. Now how about we give Force Stagger to the Power Fist and Thunderhammer next? The shockwave of Power Step covers a distance of 10 meters in a 10-degree cone-shaped area. By default, this only has a cleave of 4. After a successful Power Step, you're also allowed to seamlessly cancel into other actions. One notable mention is the Overhead Strike, or the Sprint/Dodge attack. The speed at which you can cancel into this attack is key to maximizing your damage after a successful Power Backstep, regardless of which defense type your Power Axe has. And yes, you will also be able to follow up with a Gun Strike before the parry bonus ends. It is for this reason that the Power Axe is currently one of the most powerful melee options, as it is capable of dishing out a ludicrous amount of burst damage consistently. For the block variant, you can also enter Power Stance after a successful perfect block, but do note that the animation of a successful Power Axe deflection has a longer recovery than the default one, meaning that certain fast combo will be harder for you to build block charges with. That said, the unique parry animation also seems to have a longer invulnerability window after a successful perfect block, compared to the regular one. Power Backstep will also trigger Adrenaline Surge while retaining all benefits of the stacks. The Power Axe's gimmick allows it to have great burst damage post-parry, in the form of Power Backstep preceding a Gun Strike. This allows the users to maximize the 2.2 second parry bonus, while also creating space and allowing for extremely fluid combat. In addition, Power Backstep provides a reliable source of guaranteed stagger that can be used effectively against enraged and terminus enemies, allowing for more aggression post a successful block or parry. With the block version, you get a weapon with unparalleled burst damage. With the guaranteed stagger, you also have more freedom of when to expend your Adrenaline Surge stacks, instead of having to get 2 stacks every time like other weapons. While not particularly complicated, the Power Axe is a fun and strong weapon. It is fluid, flashy, yet highly practical for any classes that can use it. In the next section, we take a look at some weapon perks that are currently unique to the Power Axe, and their use and effects. I think that while many of these perks providing unique effects are signs of a more directed effort on making weapon perks feel truly impactful, there are still many flaws. Perpetual Speed. I honestly don't see much difference there. To be frank, even with just the description, I didn't think would make much difference. This is one of those perks though that could either be game breaking or in this case, a meaningless addition. Please rework this. Confidence Stance is also useless. The reason being that the Power Axe already has Hyper Armor during Power Stance by default. This might actually be bugged like the Thunder Hammer, which also has Hyper Armor during charged attacks by default. Please just make this into an innate part of the weapon and put another perk here instead, such as reduced health damage taken when Power Stance. Counter Attack makes the first instance of damage dealt by non-heavy attacks deal 50% more melee damage. While it has synergy with the increased sprint attack damage of the Power Axe, it unfortunately doesn't work well with Light 4 because the effect wears off after the first part of the attack. Endless Slash, as the name suggests, allows you to use heavy attacks continuously. It's simpler to perform, I suppose, but you could always access an infinite combo by alternating between the lights and heavies. Repulse doubles the damage of your overhead strike following a power step. Unlike Counter Attack and Coup de Grace, however, this is an actual 2x multiplier. Something to note, however, is that currently this perk is bugged and will make this attack be not considered as a sprint attack. In effect, all perks that are supposed to trigger from a sprint attack will not function as expected. Power Strike seems like a generic gun strike damage buff, but because of how the buff is only applied after the character enters Power Stance, it is easy to accidentally use a gun strike before the buff is applied. Wait a moment after a successful parry to ensure you get the proper buff. Power Wave increases the size of your Power Backstep's shockwave from 10 degree to 25 degree. While from the description of the perk, I thought it meant that the cleave would be increased as well, but this is simply not the case. However, a wider hitbox also meant that you will be able to maximize your weapon's cleave, and hilariously enough, this also allows you to hit certain airborne targets like the Zoanthrope, though obviously with incredible jank. Please let us change the direction of Power Backstep, Saber. Patient Stance uniquely pauses CHP degradation during Power Stance. This allows for the users to have a much better chance at recovering from low health. And since the Power Axe can gun strike almost immediately following a Power Backstep, you're able to retreat safely while also maximizing your CHP loss. That said, this temporary pause on CHP degradation ends the moment you exit the stance, and it really isn't that amazing. And the reason for that is, like the Gunstrike buff, it doesn't begin immediately the moment you get a parry, so you still lose some CHP if you've taken too long. For the block version, Patient Stance is not very powerful due to the poor CHP recovery from melee attacks, as well as the lack of guaranteed Gunstrike. Restoration is a perk that I've often wondered why it took so long to become a thing on melee weapons. It's a great perk, simple and effective. Finally, we have Discharge, which is a perk that I think should replace all weapon perks that simply buff sprint attack damage. This perk generates an area of effect damage when overhead is used, with a 15-second cooldown in between usage. For some reason, this AoE deals electro damage, meaning it unfortunately doesn't trigger active attrition, unlike Wing of Fury on the Assault. While it alone is not powerful in terms of damage, it does stagger enemies unlike Wing of Fury's AoE. Here you can see that it stacks with Wing of Fury and active attrition to decimate a group of Minor's enemies. All in all, these perks inspire confidence in me because many of them are new effects that are useful and are generalist enough that they can be put into other weapons. While some obviously fall short of what they should do, their ideas aren't as mundane as many of the launch weapon perks are. I for one would love to see Restoration on the Thunderhammer. All in all, the Power Axe is currently regarded by many as one of the most fun and also best weapons available. Fluid attacks with great burst damage, with a signature move that offers additional options post a perfect block or parry. The Power Axe only suffers from minor issues. While it will not have the awesome crowd control of the Thunderhammer, the range of the Power Fist, or the utility of the Power Sword, it, like the Chainsword, can be learned easily, yet still have key properties and hidden tricks that allows for skill expressions. That is the end of this video. See you next time.